The cool, sterile air of the Jedi Temple hung heavy, not with the usual serenity, but with a palpable tension, a quiet hum of unspoken anxieties that war had brought to its hallowed halls. Mace Windu stood at a panoramic window, looking out over the endless sprawl of Coruscant. The city lights, usually a dazzling tapestry of ambition and progress, now seemed like pinpricks of vulnerability, constantly under threat. He wasn't just looking at the city, he was looking at the weight of the galaxy, a burden that pressed down on the Jedi Order, and particularly on him. It was a time when the very soul of the Jedi was being tested, stretched to its breaking point, not just by the separatist armies, but by voices within their own ranks. Voices like Proset Dibbs, a fellow Jedi Master, who, in his profound disillusionment and despair, had publicly accused the Jedi Order of betraying its most sacred traditions. Dibbs argued that the Jedi had abandoned their role as peacekeepers, forsaken the path of diplomacy and contemplation, and had instead become mere soldiers, agents of war. It was a charge that resonated deeply, striking up the core of what it meant to be a Jedi, and it cut Mace Windu to the quick. This wasn't just a critique, it was an existential crisis. To be accused by a brother in the Force of forsaking their fundamental principles, of turning away from the very ideals they swore to uphold, was an agonizing wound. It forced an introspection, a painful examination of every decision made, every battle fought, every life taken in the name of the Republic. The truth was, Dibbs's accusation contained a painful kernel of truth, a recognition of how far the Jedi had been forced to stray from their ideal state. Yet, Mace Windu, with his unwavering conviction and his deep connection to the Force, held fast. He believed, with every fiber of his being, that they had not truly abandoned their traditions, but rather were forced to adapt them to a brutal, unprecedented reality. Mace Windu understood the profound discomfort and the moral quandary of the Jedi's position. He knew intimately that the Jedi had never wanted to fight in a war. Their history, their philosophy, their very essence was rooted in maintaining peace, in serving as guardians of justice through wisdom and restraint. Their role was to be a shield, to protect the innocent, to intercede before conflict erupted, to heal divisions. But the Clone Wars were not a conflict that could be mediated away. They were a torrent of chaos, a deliberate attempt to tear the Republic apart, orchestrated by a darkness so insidious that it left no room for passive observation. In this crucible, Mace Windu came to a powerful, albeit painful realization. Circumstances had compelled them to become a sword instead of a shield. This wasn't a choice born of desire or ambition. It was a desperate act of self-preservation and a profound commitment to the ideals they originally swore to protect. He believed it was not wrong to fight for the ideals of the Republic, the ideals of democracy, freedom, and justice, even if it meant wielding a lightsaber in battle rather than in ceremony. The Republic, for all its flaws, was still the best hope for the galaxy, and its destruction would plunge countless worlds into tyranny and suffering. To stand by, he reasoned, would be the true betrayal of their oath. This powerful justification for the Jedi's involvement was not born lightly. It emerged from a deep and painful struggle within himself and within the Order. It was the philosophy of a man who had been forced to adapt his sacred principles to the brutal realities of a galaxy at war. Imagine the sleepless nights, the intense meditations, the internal debates Mace Windu must have waged. How do you remain a beacon of peace when war rages all around you? How do you adhere to non-attachment when lives depend on your decisive action? How do you protect without becoming the aggressor? Mace Windu, more than perhaps any other Jedi Master on the Council, embodied this transformation. He was a leader doing his best to navigate an impossible situation, facing dilemmas for which there were no easy answers, only less terrible ones. He became the Jedi's blade, forged not by choice but by necessity, tempered by the heat of conflict. His stern demeanor, his legendary combat prowess, his unwavering resolve, all became manifestations of this painful adaptation. He held the line, not with joy, but with an immense, quiet determination, understanding that sometimes, to preserve peace, one must be willing to fight for it with everything they have. In the end, Mace Windu's conviction was a testament to his profound understanding of the Force and his unwavering commitment to justice. He recognized that the Jedi way, while eternal in its core values, also had to be dynamic, capable of bending without breaking, of adapting its expression to meet the unprecedented challenges of the age. He became the sword, not to glorify violence, but to defend the very space where peace could eventually flourish once more. His choices, though agonizing, were made in the service of an ideal, a desperate attempt to protect the light in a galaxy rapidly descending into shadow. Mace Windu's story is a powerful reminder that leadership in times of crisis often demands painful compromises and adaptations of principle. He became the Jedi's blade, forged by the brutal realities of war, not out of a desire for battle, but out of a fierce, protective love for the ideals of the Republic and the people it served. His struggle reflects the timeless dilemma of how to preserve peace when confronted with an enemy that knows only war. What are your thoughts on Mace Windu's difficult choices during the Clone Wars? Do you believe the Jedi truly strayed too far, or was their adaptation a necessary evil? Share your perspective in the comments below. And if you'd like to explore more stories of difficult choices and complex characters from across the galaxy, be sure to follow us for more.